Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to diagnose an issue where the beer pours just a little bit into the glass and then stops. First of all, this is testing with air, so just bear in mind the length of the pour. So place the coupler down. This is a correct pour. You can hear the air going the entire time. And also you notice that the lights indicate flow up to the proper amount. So let's do some troubleshooting. Okay, for example, I just untapped my keg, so what happens when I put a cup down? It briefly goes on for about a quarter, half second, then turns off, and these lights flash red. The red flashing lights on the top two red flashing lights will indicate a pour fault. Alternately, if I still have my keg untapped and I go to program the size, it'll try to program the size. Watch this, I stopped it, and you'll see what will happen. It'll pour it, and then they flash green. Well, the reason why they're flashing green right now is because you programmed a cup to 0 ounces, so it made its successful program size. So if you see that happening, that's because you programmed it to a 0 amount. Now, the easiest way to check to see if, well, did you have a program to a 0 amount, or did you actually have a fault? Well, let's check if the flow meter is working. So you push the prime button, push this down. I'll turn on the air. So the valve will stay open whether you have flow or not. And you can see that the lights are flickering right now. There is air flowing out of there. So we do have flow. The flow circuit is working. So if you have good flow, the lights are flickering. The lights are flickering, and you have beer coming out, you're in good shape. Program the size, and then move on. If they're not flickering, a couple things could be the issue. First of all, your flow rate, let's see if I can turn down the flow rate to slow. If your flow rate, so there's still air coming out, but if your flow rate is so slow that it's not enough to spin the turbine inside, then that is an issue. You need to adjust your flow rate. Okay, let's say we have flow of beer coming out. So you can hear it, it's going, but the lights are not spinning. They're just solid green or they're solid red. It's probably solid green. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna come down here. Flow sensor's unplugged. Or you have bad wires, bad connection, something of that sort. So plug it back in. See, the lights are now flickering. Flow is still going. Okay, let's say you do have flow, but your lights are still not flickering. Another thing to check, you either need to have a V3 right here, or you need to have a gray Sharpie mark right on this bottom right hand corner, or this spot right here needs to have a big gray Sharpie mark. And what that indicates is parylene coating, and it's a corrosion-proof coating that we put on this front layer underneath this sticker that keeps the electronics from corroding. If you do have an older version, there's a chance that beer could leak in around this sticker and corrode the pins, which actually are through pins that go all the way to the flow sensor circuit. Any of these connectors right here are through pin connections, and they actually stick out through this opposite side, and if beer leaks out down through the old rev electronics, it can corrode them, and you have all sorts of issues. This last test, I'm going to take out the coupler. I'm going to introduce a foreign piece of debris into the valve. So now this actually can happen. It happens pretty rarely, but it does happen. There's a shim on the underside of this nozzle post. I actually took it out here for representation. It's like about the size of a US dime. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to untap the valve, and I'm just going to place it. Come on. Oh, there it goes, inside the valve. Now with that foreign piece of debris in there, let's try flow again. Well, there's flow coming out, but it's not indicating flow while in prime. So I'll show you how to remove that shim, the easiest way. The easiest way to remove it is from the underside of the valve. You need to take off the E-clip, the Lincoln log, and the 4 screws. to hold the blue block in place. Also make sure to untap your keg. From here we should see a E-clip, then a washer which is called the pressure plate, and then the diaphragm. Remove the E-clip. Remove the washer. Remove the diaphragm. And then the shim itself just pops right out of there. Before putting everything back together, inspect your diaphragm. Of course, this one's good. But if it looks warped, like if it looks like that, and you have a bunch of bacteria on there that you can't get rid of, but in any regard, if it's warped, you need to replace it with a new one. So this one's fine. We'll put it back on. Alright, it's time to put it back together. First of all, when you're putting this diaphragm back on, notice the groove right here, the widest groove that you have. This diaphragm needs to seat into that groove. If you push it up too far past the groove, you will have issues and you'll be pulling it right back apart again. Alternately, make sure it's not down too low either. Make sure this Lincoln log goes on the right way. The rounded part needs to go up towards the valve, like this. Alright, we're flipped back over. The keg is tapped. We're good.